Jim, we'd like to welcome you. This is Fred Moore, the president of the Downeasters. He's also invited other members of the Northeastern District who are interested to join us. You should know that I screwed up and basically sent that broadcast email to the entire district without realizing that our Zoom account can only handle 100 participants. And right now we have 98, so we're just under the wire. But we want to welcome you. We know you probably get lots of invitations, and we're really grateful that you're willing to spend your time with us tonight. You're welcome to talk about whatever you want. I am sure the guys would love to hear war stories about your journey, both inside and outside of barbershopping. And if you've got time after that, I'm sure the guys have a lot of questions if you're game for that. So I hand the ball over to you, Jim, and welcome.
Oh, Jim, you're muted.
Hear me?
Just wait.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
There we go. I very much appreciate the invitation. And I've been kind of curious to meet you guys. I've seen some of your pictures. They're online. So I'm looking at a few faces now that seem familiar. So I feel like I'm in with a bunch of buddies. So it's just good to be here, guys. Good to be with you.
Yeah, I spotlighted you. Would you prefer to be one of the gang or a spotlight?
Oh, it doesn't matter. However way you want me, George.
Okay, great.
just here to chat and get to know you guys a little bit and talk a little barbershop. Good to see you.
Well, we were afraid to have 100 people talking at once. So we muted them all.
Yeah.
How do you do you like to take questions, like to talk about history of the VM or barbershop or
Whatever you like. If any questions you all might have, I don't know, you may know a little bit about our history. I don't know. I could certainly tell you a little about that if you like, but just whatever you'd like to know that I can provide, I'll be happy to.
Well, we didn't really have a whole lot of prep here, but we'll have some questions and people can maybe raise hands and send messages out. One question was how you're rehearsing right now. The VM's rehearsing. I guess you're still active with the VM, correct?
Yeah, Greg's is the director, but I'm still active, do some of the directing. So we meet on Thursday nights, just like you're doing right here. We do the same thing and occasionally have a guest down to visit with us a little bit and try to have good rehearsals. It puts us all at pretty much of a disadvantage. I know how much I miss that. There's nothing like that sound, getting up there shoulder to shoulder. And I know we all miss that so much, but I guess we're just making the best of it just like you are and trying to stay in touch and not get out of the habit of showing up. The difference is we meet on Thursday nights. So I have other business on Monday nights. That's why I said I only had 30 minutes tonight, but it's just fun to be with you. Any questions you might have? We started in 1971. There were 2 chapters here in Dallas, but they didn't really aspire to be, toward excellence. So a few of us, and I was not in, of course, at that time, but a few of us got together. We had our first meeting with 12 men in the second floor of an old bank building over in Oak Cliff here across the river. And there's not a river here. Judy says there's no river here. That was Shreveport. But they 12 guys, but we got excited and we all wanted the same thing. We were willing to really work for it, and strive for excellence. And we found out that singing is fun, but singing good is a whole lot more fun. And I'm sure you all have found that same experience, haven't you, Chris? But yeah, you're right in my eyesight there, Chris. So I like your smile. I like your smile. But anyway, we chartered the next year in 1972 with 36 men. And we still have a few charter members from back then, but a lot of them have just kind of departed one way or another, mostly through God's will, I guess. But still a few of us left, regular charter members. But I think we're more excited, as much so as we've ever been. I directed my last contest in 2010, and Greg's taken it since then, and he's already wrapped up a couple of gold medals on his own. And he's just doing such a fantastic job, guys. He really is. So I am officially the executive musical director, and he is the musical director. So especially for the Christmas shows, I'll probably, as long as I can stand up, take some part in that and direct a few songs. It's become such a traditional for those Christmas shows. But anyhow, we have competed. We won our first gold medal in 1975. That was my first international to direct. And Greg was a little 12-year-old kid with long hair standing in the middle of that front row when we won that gold medal in Indianapolis in 75. Then let's see, I got a question here. Mr. Clancy, were you the first director of the vocal majority? And that's a good question. I had done a little choir work, but I didn't know anything much about barbershopping. I was a jingle singer. I was a studio singer. I had my own microphone, 7 voice groups, and I was the low bass. But I'd done a lot of singing and some group leading, but I'd never really gotten involved officially in barbershop. But our first director was named Ray Anthony, not the trumpet player that some of you might remember. But Ray had directed the San Antonio Alamo Heights Chordsmen to an international gold medal in 1960. So he already had quite a resume. And when he moved to Dallas, it seemed perfect that we would invite the guys from whoever to come and join the chorus, and Ray would be our director. So he directed us through an international 3rd place finish in 1974 in Kansas City. We got back to Dallas and he told me he wanted to talk to me. And he laid on me that he was going to retire and that I was going to be the new director. Well, boy, I felt like I directed a couple of songs, but I mean, are you kidding me, man? To follow the great Ray Anthony, I had, oh my goodness, what are they talking about? But so I say I'd had a little bit of experience, and Ray stayed around and sang in the chorus, even when I directed that first championship in 1975. So off to a great start. And that was all, oh, I renewed my confidence so much. And then in 78, we thought it was just all about singing. We didn't know about all this showmanship stuff and all of that all of us know about now. But boy, Louisville Thoroughbred chorus came up there, and big old Jim Miller just dominated that stage. And we finished second to Louisville in 1978. So I decided at the time that, boy, whatever we need to do, we have learned way since then that what people see makes just as much of an impression as what they're hearing. So we spend as much time working on stage presence or faces and expression now as we do music, as we do singing. So it's really paid off well for us. Beginning in 1979, we had a little 30-year run. We won 10 international championships in a row. And I say we because I had a team working with me that was so great, like the Dealer's Choice were kind of our section leaders. So that's a pretty good start. Some of you may not know that they won the International Quartet Championship in 1973. So they even provide their coach for us, so they were just, it was just a big, big team, and we worked hard. In fact, I know there was some myth going around that we never had any fun. All we did was work. And what people didn't realize is the harder we worked, the better we got. And that was what was fun to us. And that we coined a phrase there, really our mantra: hard work is fun when improvement is evident. So I think old Gary Parker came up with that, but we still believe in that. I got another question here. To what do you attribute the perennial excellence? What can the rest of the team learn from that? Every time, every rehearsal, it is our goal. Every man should feel like when this rehearsal is over, they're a better performer, better in music, better in performance than when they got there. If not, then we feel like we haven't done our job. We look at it like last year's 10 is this last week's 10 is this week's 7. So if we start with that 10, it now becomes a 7. So we still got somewhere to go to get better. So we work hard at just trying to prove a little bit in everything that we do. We have a lot of fun. We have some laughs, but we take our work very, very seriously. And every single man totally buys into that philosophy. And it's always been that way. And I think that's why it's worked out so well. So it's still fun. We just live it. Outside of competition, how many performances and engagements does the choir, and we call it a chorus, but a lot of people say choir, as a whole perform in a normal year? Well, years like this, not many, I'll tell you that. But before all this pandemic came along, we probably had, we do 5 major Christmas shows a year, right there, usually all in December. And, you know, I don't know how many performances, maybe, say, Judy, I got my beautiful wife, Judy, we're here with to help me. Probably about 15, maybe, something like that, performances. Probably something like that. But as we usually do 3 or 4 spring shows. And then, as I say, 5 Christmas shows. So a little periodic throughout the year, we have a few other engagements, but not enough to get burned out. You know what I mean? Got any other questions over here yet? Has the VM produced a virtual video or working on one? Yeah, we had a virtual Christmas show, guys. It really turned out well. I don't know if any of you saw it or not. I hope you did. But most of it, thank you, George, he saw it. But it was half of the show was taken from years past, shows from the last few years and all of that, particular numbers that we picked out for that first half. But the second half, to me, it was just amazing. I didn't go because of this big scare. We're just, Judy and I are just homebodies now, afraid to get out and associate. And so they let me have the night off for the Christmas show. But on the second half of the show, the fellows, our task force, had gone out and found the right church, the right, what do you call the room, sanctuary that would hold 100 men or a few more and still let the space out 6 feet apart in every direction. So I'm thinking, boy, how in the world is that going to sound good, spread apart like that? And I just didn't see it really working. But when Judy and I were at home and watching, I was blown away. The vocal majority made an extra effort, you know, not just in the singing. It was beautiful. George, I hope you liked it. But also in facial expressions, we talk about that so much, being able to express with a face, that's so important because somebody's watching you all the time. But I'm thinking if we're wearing masks, how is that going to work? But the guys just made an extra effort, I think, to just express with their eyes, you know, and it just really came off great. I was so proud of them, Dale, I tell you. It was just wonderful. It went really great. So anyhow, if that answers that question, so it was a real success. Our virtual Christmas shows, we did 2 of them, and they were very, very successful. And I was so proud of the guys for that, although I had very little to do with it. How many songs does the chorus learn in a year? You guys got some good questions, man. Well, I'm the primary arranger for the chorus. I do most of our arrangements, although we have a few like David Wright and a few others that write some arrangements for us. But what was the question?
How many do you do in a year?
Probably we learn maybe 15 new arrangements a year. I think one of the guys said since he got in the course, he's been in the course 18 years, he's learned 240 arrangements and 185 were my arrangement. But probably, I think, enough certainly to make an album, maybe more than that. We always have about 5 new Christmas songs for the Christmas shows, and the rest of them are taken from years past, but nobody ever complains. There's certain Christmas songs that everybody wants to hear, the Silent Night, White Christmas, and all of those. You know, some people just want to hear those every single year, but we try to add 5 new Christmas songs and maybe 10 or 12 other new songs during the year. What has been the most memorial performance of the VM to you personally? I love your questions, guys. Gee whiz. Well, I'll tell you what, it would be hard to beat our first performance in the Mormon Tabernacle. singing with the 360 voice choir right there in that setting in 1980. And I mean, I think every barbershop that came to Salt Lake City stayed over for that Sunday performance, that Sunday morning's performance, because we were the first outside group ever to be invited to perform with the Tabernacle Choir in the Tabernacle. Since then, though, we've been back. We've had a total of 5 performances there. One was in 1918, 1919. We got to perform again with the choir. But 20, what was the year?
I don't know. We don't keep track of years, guys.
You got to forgive me. I've been around a long, long time.
1918.
It was 2018. I got it right. 2018. And it just went beautifully. That was, just a couple of years ago. But we got to perform several songs by ourselves, and then one, I think, with the choir. So it's just been a wonderful time. But that performance, of course, every Christmas show is very special to me. Every international contest and every outgoing champion performance the next year. We've had some of our best performances going back as outgoing champions the year after that at international. So all of those have been so special. It seems like every one is even more special than the one before that. But gee, all these great questions. How do you assimilate new singers so quickly? We have a turnover probably of about maybe 15 or 20% a year. Dallas is quite a transit city, so we've got a lot of coming and going. A lot of new guys coming in, and unfortunately, we have to lose a few every year. And of course, a few usually retire. A lot of them are getting on up in age pretty well now. But we've never had to, I think we've had a few guest nights, but we've never had to worry about it. If anything, we've had to almost cut back, but we've always managed to get every man on stage for international. I think we had 162 at our last international on stage. That's getting a little bit crowded, but we just didn't want to leave anybody at home. So let's see. That was a spectacular. Phil, you saw that performance in 1980? Wow, that's wonderful. That was so special because it was the first one. In 1986, we did another one. And the next year we did an album. They were called albums back then. With the Tabernacle Choir, we went up there to record it for ABC Masterworks. That's called Voices in Harmony. If you don't have that, you can order it, guys, and you might really enjoy this. A lot of wonderful music by the Tabernacle Choir and several by the VM and several that we did together. So that was really very special to get to do that album with them. Is there a best way to learn intricate and higher level arrangements? That's another good question. Well, you know, in the very beginning, it was probably the same way with you all way back. When did you all start? What year? You remember?
Downeasters, I don't know when we've been around well over 50 years.
Yeah. Well, that's what I thought. We will celebrate our 50th anniversary next year. But the Downeasters, I was trying to say the Downeasterners, and I looked at Downeasters. That's got a good sound. I like that. But best way to learn. Some of my arrangements are a little bit, as you probably know, a little bit far out, a little bit intricate, but the guys need to be challenged. I never present anything to them if they can't sing. And goodness gracious, in the beginning, we used to teach by rote. You all remember that. But now, heck, everything is, we have learning tracks with them. I'm sure you do too. So a guy can listen to a full mix to hear all the parts and to hear his part predominant. And it's just, you just got it made. We provide good music for the guys, and so they can memorize the music and take those learning tracks, and there's nothing to it. So I never present, I try to challenge the guys with arrangements, but never present anything over their head. But at this point in time, that'd be hard to do. It really would. How can a small course develop section leaders when everyone is an average? That's tough. That is really tough. I don't know how you do that. I think I would just say, take your strongest singer in each section, and that's probably what you do. and let him work with the section. But aside from that, I don't have any magic formulas for a small chorus. Develop section leaders. Everyone's an average singer. Boy, it's just try to pick your best one and work with him, give him your full attention. And boy, that's a tough one. How much rehearsal time is used for warm up? 20 minutes. We use 20 minutes for warm up. We start our rehearsals at 7 o'clock, which is 8 o'clock your time, and we go until 10:30. We try not to go past that. We seldom do, but the first 20 minutes is our warm up, and the rest is going through repertoire and then perhaps working diligently on one or two numbers. But we just enjoy singing. We enjoy the music. We try to sing a lot. Let the guys sing a lot. What is that?
How much authority?
Authorities do section leaders have? That depends on what kind of authority. They are the spokesperson for the section musically. We have somebody else that works with them with the section visually, and of course they answer to the director or the assistant director. There's never ever do I recall any problem with that whatsoever. Like who should take charge? They know the director is in charge. The board of directors, of course, we have such respect for them, but they never put their position on the board above their position on the risers. We all want the same thing. We're all in to be the best singers we can be and working together. And it's just always been that way, and it's always worked. Any members, if you're bored that are not chapter members, no, they all have to be. They have to be chapter members. We have every now and then we'll have maybe a special coach come in for contest time. Tony DeRosa works a lot with us. That's Greg's lead in his Max Q International Championship Quartet. But we love Tony DeRosa. He also makes learning tracks for us, and so does Gary Lewis. He's also the baritone in that Max Q Quartet. So both of those make our learning tracks, and then often Tony comes in and coaches for especially contest time. And we've had Jim Henry down work with us. We worked with his course a little bit, but and David Wright, who writes a lot of our wonderful contest arrangement. Okay, always enjoyed all your sacred music, always smooth. Thank you, Gordon. That means a lot to me. I think some of our best music has been our sacred music. We never have a problem just really getting into that. I love to, we have men in the chorus that are in different denominations, different faiths, and all of that. But when I look at them and we're singing a sacred number, I look at them and I try when I direct to look at individual faces, connect with individuals, not just the chorus. But I see the same God in every face when we're singing the sacred music, and it's an inspiration to me. It's sometimes can be even emotional, but I'm glad you like some of those. I think we've got two albums at least that with all sacred music. So I hope you do enjoy those. I think some of their best things, hopefully some of my better arrangements are the sacred music. How does the VM manage auditions? We have an auditioner that really knows what he's doing. The man, if a man doesn't pass the audition the first night, he can come back and audition again, and even a third time. In fact, we've had men pass our audition, I think, on a fifth try. But usually you can get a pretty good idea by two or three times if a man can pass or not. But you don't have to be a virtuoso, fellas, to be a good vocal majority singer. You would be surprised. It's not like all our men are excellent singers, and they would tell you that. There's some that are fairly average singers, but they work hard at what they do. They learn their music, and they have to pass an audition. And it's not out of line. I think most of the men who auditioned for the vocal majority passed that audition. Okay, let's see what else we got. Is there another thing, Judy? How did you learn how to arrange? That's a good question. I think I just hear the stuff in my head and I write down what I hear. And if with any luck, it works. But I got stuff, Judy will tell you, sometimes she can look at me if we're driving down the road or something. She will look at me and she knows I'm listening to an arrangement in my head or I'm working on an arrangement in my head. She'll say, "You're not with me." No, I say, "You're on to me, baby. You're right. I'm right in the middle of how can I say, or in the middle of some arrangement." But I just, things kick around. And I hear the vocal, I hear the men singing these arrangements as I work on them sometime in the middle of the night, 3 o'clock in the morning. A part of an arrangement will come, some of my best stuff, I think, I've heard in my head at 3 o'clock in the morning. Judy will tell you that too. Mm-hmm. But when it all kind of finally comes together, then I write it down. And Judy writes in the words, because you probably couldn't read mine, but then we send it to a fellow who puts it in finale. And then we send it to have the learning tracks made and produce them. And that's pretty much the process.
I want to add, and
come in, Judy. Come in. Say hello.
Hi, guys.
This is Judy, guys. Beautiful.
I wasn't planning on being on camera.
Judy is a queen, by the way, a queen of harmony. She sang with Ginger and Jazz. 1987, Queens of Harmony. They won in Hawaii, a very romantic place there. Yeah. So she was, believe it or not, a bass singer. So anyhow, say hi, Judy.
Hi, guys. No, I just wanted to say about his arranging that he didn't add is that, after he hears it in his head, then he starts plunking it on the piano. And I just love that time when he is working through it. And what's really fun is when he gets kind of stuck and he's trying to decide between a couple, he'll call me in and he'll play through and want me to tell him which one he likes. So yeah. So I get to have a part in some of them.
I'll have one part. I'm gonna have a certain change from so-and-so to so, little change here. Or I say, well, it could be so and so, and say, honey, come here. Tell me which one you like best. And I'll play them both for her, and it'll be the one that I like best anyhow that she chooses. But she helps a lot there, as well as writing in the words to all my arrangements. What's your favorite barbershop quartet ever and active now? Boy, when I went to the first barbershop meeting, I was still in school in Shreveport. And I heard on the radio that they were having a barbershop meeting, and I didn't know there was any organized barbershop back then. I had no idea. That was 1958, I think, and I didn't know it could, So anyhow, I went down and visited this meeting, and there were about 23 guys there, and I wasn't that impressed with what I was hearing because I was a music major. I was, a vocal major actually, but anyway. One of the guys there gave me an album by the Confederates. If you didn't know, some of you would remember the 1956 International Barbershop Champions. And that just blew me away. A song called Redhead was on there. And more, I had to find 3 other guys who could sing and get in a quartet just to sing Redhead. But as you all remember, the Lord's Prayer was on there. Another one that we keep bringing back, A Nightingale Sang in Berkeley Square. We opened with that as outgoing champions, I think, on a show at International back in the 80s. And we opened with Berkeley Square, and barbershop was actually stood up. We got a standing ovation for Berkeley Square. And it would still be, it's kind of been in our repertoire for 40 years, and it would still probably be some of the guys' favorite arrangement. And it's that old Confederates arrangement that we sang. It's just wonderful.
And active now.
Active now. Wow. Still competing. Well,
better say Max Q.
Boy, that is really tough. Max Q won in 2007. That was Greg singing tenor. So I was a little bit partial to that. And old Jeff, who's been in the chorus for, golly Moses, 30 years now, has done a lot of section work and music work with us. But there was the bass in that. So I was real close to this group. So I really loved them. Old time, I think the other quartet probably responsible for getting me in barbershopping was the Suntones. But this same fellow that gave me a Confederate album played for me over the phone that Old Black Magic by the Suntones. If you never heard that, you should. I love that. It was a little bit, probably what they did was a little bit probably influenced me probably in my arranging, not totally barbershop, but sometimes a little bit of different chords and all of that. So a lot of my arrangements are like that. Most of my arrangements would not be competitive, wouldn't be competition numbers, but they were just the way I like to hear the song and the way I like to hear the guys sing it. That's what we do, Dave, right? Yeah, Dave, I got you right here, man. How many rehearsals? Yeah. How many rehearsals do you have before contest? We have a bunch. We really do, guys. We push it to the hills. I think about 6 weeks before contest, we go to 2 rehearsals a week, 1 full rehearsal and 1 partial rehearsal. And then the last 2 weeks, it's almost every night, probably at least 4 nights a week to rehearse. So we take it very seriously. We work real hard to try to perfect it. With some of the courses these days, boy, I'll tell you, if you're not absolutely almost perfect, you just they'll beat you. We've been up in the 97s several times, average score. I mean, that's hard to do, man. It really is. Every little thing has to be just so. And so we really work at it, but all the big courses now really do spend a lot of time working. So they're pretty hard to beat. But I don't know how you all do it, but it's one thing to win a contest, but it's the association and the people we meet and hang out with and love and sing with and woodshed with, all that. That's what we really love. And it's just so special. But if a course maybe has never finished, say, in the top 10, their goal might be to be in the top 10, and if they make it, that's as big a deal to them as us winning. I love that. Or then to maybe get a medal. For guys if we can get in the top 5, we can get a medal. I remember when St. Charles first won, we got in that top 5, and we had won that day. And I think they were celebrating as highly as we were, on it, just making. So setting realistic goals, hopefully that's what you do, and then strive to attain those goals, guys. But I think you always ought to be trying to get better every week. Try to, in some way, get a little bit better than you were the week before. I hope you do that. I would sure recommend it. Oh my goodness. Well, I'm past my time. I've taken more of your time than I said I was going to, but I told him I would be available on your time for 8 to 8:30, and that's my time, 7 to 7:30. I've got something else I have to do. But I haven't heard anything from you. I would like to hear just a little bit more about your course before I leave. So one of you, George or Fred or somebody, tell me a little bit, if you would, about your course and what you do and how you're doing.
Try to get Fred to talk here. I think we silenced everyone too well.
Yeah, George had silenced me. I was muzzled. I think he's trying to tell me something. But so as was mentioned earlier, we've been around for about 60 years. We at our own level are striving to get better constantly. And Chris stepped into a very difficult situation because virtually the day that he took over, we stopped having in-person rehearsals because of COVID. So he's been directing almost entirely via Zoom during his tenure so far, but he's been doing a great job. We've been to international 3 times.
Wow.
Uh,
I thought I had seen you at international a time or two. Is that right? Yeah.
Our goal would be to be in the top 30, not in the top 10. So
for that top 30, you betcha. Go for it. Absolutely.
But we've had a ball at all those times. We do a lot of singing around the community wise when the pandemic isn't around as well.
Do you ever have a coach come up and work with you?
Yes, we have had coaching quite frequently, again before the pandemic hit. And Dave Patterson, who I think is on with us, he and his wife has come up to coach us. We've done a lot of work with Deborah Lynn, with Steve Tramack, and with a bunch of other folks that I'm sure you know.
Actually, Fred, if I can sneak in for a second, I think a number of years ago we had somebody he may know very well, a gentleman by the name of Eddie Martinez.
He's there. He's on the front row, man.
Yeah, he spent a whole weekend with us. He's just phenomenal.
I recommend that guy. I'm so glad you had him up. I hope you'll have him back again. Eddie is so sharp and such a good guy. And just, I'm sure you found him just fun to work with, man. But he knows what he's doing, and I recommended him if you hadn't. I'm so glad you
Absolutely.
have Eddie. I hope you'll have him back.
He certainly was fun the last time. We would certainly look into that again, definitely.
I will tell him that you mentioned it. He'll appreciate that. Bet you. Well, guys,
We're still on his mailing lists.
I tell you, we need to get back up and work with you some more. These are hard time, guys, but I just arranged a song called "We'll Meet Again," and it was a famous World War II song. But I know we all will. I know this is tough. Getting through these times and hold it together through these times, and stay in touch, and support each other and encourage each other. This time's going to pass. I'll bet you sometime before this year's out, I'll bet you we'll be back up there, and it'll be better than ever, man. So I hope to get to see you guys again, maybe at International sometimes. Try and going for that top 30, and maybe by then you'll be going for the top 25. So just keep working hard, fellas. Enjoy what you're doing, and gee whiz, I'd love to come see you again sometime. Love being with you, fellas. Really have.
Well, thank
Thanks.
you. You've been very generous with your time. We're very, very grateful, and we are in awe.
Well, thank you, Fred. It's been a pleasure, and I feel like I've gotten to know some of you now. So just good to see you, and I hope I get to see you in the future, fellas. Keep up the good work.